Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another program of Energy Matters. I'm hoping that you're enjoying these programs. I think that we're having this wide range of people talking about what energy is to you. If you're interested in talking to me about this online, drop me a line, drop me a direct message, and we'll set you up. Today, I am so excited to be able to welcome my old friend, dear friend, Jen Duchene. She's a mystic, mentor, and teacher who guides you to align and amplify your soul's true mission using her expansive toolkit, and it really truly is expansive. That includes the wisdom of the Akashic records, lineages of light workers, healers, and wizards to reconnect with your own majestic, bold, and limitless self that has been waiting inside of you all along. Jen, what a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Vicky. I'm so happy to be here.
So I know that you're joining us from nighttime in Portugal, and that you have made a move. I guess it was a couple years ago, a year and a half ago. Is that right? That you
Yeah,
went there, and have, I think you have found new sources of energy, let's say, continue to increase your toolkit of energy resources. So tell us a little bit about your transition.
moving to Lisbon.
Yeah.
Yes, very interesting. I think in terms of energy, certainly a whole different field of energy that I'm connecting into here. So that's been a really interesting experience because first coming here, not knowing anyone, never having been here, it was like being completely lost, confused, going out, didn't know where I was. And I found it really fascinating because the universe was kind of showing me, this is what life is about, right? You
So
don't
this
know.
was a chance to really walk your talk, right? To be able to really follow the guidance that you are so tapped into
Right. Like
on a
this is
daily basis.
right. And in real time. Like I have no idea where I am. I can't figure out how to get anywhere and figuring out how to get the bus, walk, get a tram, just learn all these different things. And of course, it's a different language that I have not, I'm far from mastered yet, but learning that everything's in a different language, you don't really understand what people are saying, you don't know how to ask for what you need, meeting new people, going through all of those different levels. And perhaps the most fascinating is releasing expectations because so much of the old or who we've been, or certainly who I was, you know, very kind of in a box. This is who I am. This is how life is supposed to be. This is how things work. And then coming somewhere where it doesn't work like that at all. And because I don't have anything pre-organized, I didn't have anything pre-made, I had to go through that. And I still am, right? It's still an unknown.
An unfolding
Yes.
of the lotus. It's beautiful. I mean, I know that you are a world traveler, and you grew up in South Africa, and then you moved. I don't know if you moved to France and then to the States or wherever. I know that you've lived a lot of different places. Has this because you're, I mean, you said you were in a box, but I think of you as being one of the most out of the box people that I know, and I've always thought that about you, even from the time before you claimed what claimed your power within the context of really deep spiritual work and spiritual readings that you do for others. Do you feel like that there's a way in which this was innate in you, this sort of sense of like thrusting yourself into a new situation, or do you feel like you carried the tools that you've developed over time into where you are now?
Well, it's interesting you say that because I do believe it's very innate. It's innate in my chart. This is who I am. I am an out of a box thinker, etc., expresser. However, I do think from my own experience in childhood and just living in the world that has been created through the many generations we have lived, there is a lot of element of needing safety. So not having real safety in the sense of, oh, who I am is safe to be. It's safe to be, wild and crazy. So not having that forced me to be, more of a control freak. And I think that's very, very typical of many people who are like me. Like you're, I don't want to speak for you or anything, but I think it's very typical. I see this with a lot of people I work with. I see that with a lot of my friends, that because we're not, um, typical or how we're supposed to be, there is this need to overcompensate, like to really control what's happening. Like, how dare life change on me, right? Like, how can, this is not supposed to move. Um, and I think that's part of me that has been so stuck for so long because I don't think it's obvious. Like maybe it's obvious to other people, like, wow, hey, you've got this like rigid idea about something, just like me living my life, not thinking, oh, I'm not rigid. I'm just like, yeah, I'm easygoing. But then realizing when you go to a new place and everything is different, then none of that certainty, none of that action, behavior, thought is useful because now suddenly nothing fits into those boxes. And so it's like you're scrambling to, in my case, I'm scrambling to figure out how I can blossom in a place that is unfamiliar.
Mm. One of the things I love about this is that it's so empowering. What you're talking about is really very empowering because it's so I think that the trap that I know so many of us can fall into is feeling like a victim of our circumstances. Oh, this happened or that happened. And I hadn't thought about it in terms of control, but in terms of a sense of powerlessness, in terms of this is happening to me, I have no agency. And so when you put yourself into a new situation, move to another country, I have several people who have expatriated lately, and and I am hearing a little bit of a theme, whether it's from Canada or from the US, that there's a there's a real shift in consciousness, but there's also that sense of the empowerment of adventure, of embracing the adventure of our lives, which we can, of course, do in places that we're used to, but we don't really expect to, right? Because everything's set and we think we know what life is.
Right. Yeah, that's really very true. And actually, it's interesting because I was at an event somewhere, and we were all expats. They call it expats. I don't know if that's the right term, but uh, wanting to become part of a new place, wanting to have this new experience. And so somebody was like talking about or complaining about, oh, why is this working this way? Again, it's that thing of it's supposed to work a certain way according to my logic or where I came from. It shouldn't be like this, right? We have those ideas in our head. And I was saying to this woman, no, it's like we have to adjust to something new. Like the place we're in doesn't have to go, oh, you have a different idea, let me embrace your idea. It really is us going, I want to have the experience where I embrace the change. And that to me is the microcosm of this experience we're having. That in order to experience this unusual, in the fact that nothing is going as it did, the best way to travel is to go, oh, I am having to adapt to this new experience. And how do I want to? Again, using your word, the empowerment part is I feel empowered when I'm making the choices, as opposed to being disempowered because someone else or something else is choosing for me. And so much of that is through the labeling or through the understanding that my idea is the best idea or where I came from has the best solution.
Well, there's so much in there that feels even political to me around entitlement and in terms of expectation. And but let's talk a little bit about your journey um, of how you kind of develop these skills, right? Because you've traveled in a lot of different fields of studying and working with energy in different ways. So tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of what you've cultivated to be the person you are now.
Yeah, I think I love that question because the truth is that so much of, and I realize this more and more, so it becomes even more and more fascinating. Fascinating. I am fascinated by the idea that as a child, I chose to perceive certain things. So when I was younger, or even up till maybe a few years ago, I didn't see that as a something to be fascinated by. I thought it was something that um, damaged me in some way, right? Like, oh, that experience was bad, and then it just led to more bad experiences. And then when I realized, like, as you know my story, I went through a dark night of the soul, and like was basically stripped of everything. And what actually got me to that was that the light that was inside of me just shrunk and shrunk until there was no light. So there was that opportunity to either be in a place where I felt like there was no light, or it was just uh, um, light that was manufactured, as opposed to opening myself up through this idea that I made choices that at the time seemed like the right choices. So as a child, when I had an experience, and I think this is typical of most humans, I had an experience and I perceived it as meaning something like I was wrong, or there's something wrong with me, or I need to hide my light, or it's not safe for me to be here. And there now, as I go through the reverse, because one of the things to me that's so essential about my life is to learn to express who I am. So all of the experience I've had up to that dark night of the soul was that who I was not okay, so I needed to hide it until experienced a death, because there's only so much you can hide until you die. And so that death and the revival is like, oh, now I'm free to just express what I want to express, which is my desire to break out of feeling like trapped by what I was told, by what I believed, what I followed, because I wasn't expressing myself. And so that was my journey. Like, how do I get to that place where I can just be who I am, not feel so confined? And certainly a lot of the work I did with you, right? The doing the learning to speak, learning to express myself, like free myself from feeling trapped, like my voice was trapped inside of me, my expression was trapped inside of me. So everything was done to impress others, or to say, hey, look, I'm valuable, or tell me I'm valuable, or something like that, right? As opposed to now, when I'm in expression, it's because I know this is who I am and this is how I want to discover myself. And so that's the fascination, that I can, oh, if I try this and I learn something about myself, regardless of how other people perceive it. And of course, the more I fall in love with this exploration, the easier it is for other people to enjoy it too, right? And not feel like, oh my God, I don't want to hear anything about you, because I'm not, I don't need them to do it, but it is so wonderful when they do.
Right, because connection is one of the most precious ways we can experience the world around us, right? So
Right.
yeah, I mean, I just was really thinking about. I have a friend who's been writing about embracing the dark, the yin, the shadow self, and I was just thinking about being able to go from that place of light good, dark bad, which is, I think based in white supremacy, frankly. But I think that to be able to embrace, what does it mean to be able to go inside and really be present with what is wanting to emerge, is so crucial. And the other thing that struck me as you were talking is that sense of connection with people can only happen when we're free to truly express ourselves, because otherwise, what is it that's connecting? Is it a false front? Is it, something that's we're hiding, oh, if they know this. So there's a piece that's also there to me about coming out of shame and really being able to connect with people because from who you truly are, as opposed to who you think you're supposed to be, or some projection that they have of you or you have of them. I know as a teacher, I mean, I know as a teacher, and you're a teacher and a mentor also, that sometimes, those projections can come at us. And so what are some of the ways in which you deal with that when it's being projected? Do you go into compassion? Do you go into objection? What do you do?
That's such a great question. I think one of the things I've learned that's the most powerful for me is my sense of humor. And so what I've discovered is a lot of times when people are projecting something, it's, because they want to control, they want to feel safe, whatever. But what frees me the most is to laugh about it, and not laugh from a place of meanness, but just to laugh at the joyous space of being in a place where I can actually see that someone's trying to control me and know that I'm not being controlled. So for me, that's the fastest way to break the thing, because I can enjoy the fact that somebody wants to project on me, right? And I can enjoy the fact that I am not going to fall into it, which is something that I did for a long time, right? And so most of the time, that's to me is the most beautiful way for me to not only connect with the other person, because in a way I'm going, I can see you and I can see what you're doing and it's okay, right? I'm not rejecting that. I'm just not accepting that it's true for me. Like, I'm not rejecting what you're offering, I just don't accept it. And so there is
A discernment. It's a discernment.
right, there's a discernment, but there's also a recognition of someone else as opposed to I'm better than you, right?
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
like we are equals. I see what you're doing, I acknowledge it, and I find the joy in this experience.
Yes. So what are some of the ways so tell us some of the ways in which you work with people, because I know it's all based on energy, and it's so interesting because part of what you're talking about is, identity, right? What is your identity? How do you identify yourself, and how do you distinguish what somebody else may be projecting, and all of that, which is really in my language, in the way of joy, which you know pretty well, having done a lot of way of joy stuff with me over the years. It is about our boundaries, right? The sort of the definition of who I am, as opposed to who you can't be or something like that. It's who I am, and projecting that out from our through our Wei Chi field. And so I'm just thinking about the work that you do, especially, I've had several amazing Akashic readings with you, and worked with you with your cards. You have all of these different tools, like you say, to offer. That a lot of that feels like it kind of goes into territory where identity becomes irrelevant, or the boundary of who you are is irrelevant, right? So you spend a lot of time up in the what I think of as the heaven realm, in the Akashic records, sort of in the sort of widened consciousness place. So talk to us a little bit about how you do that, and what the work is that you do with people.
Right. So the work is based on questions because, divination, all divination is based on question. And I think it's most explained when we think about cards. We ask a question, shuffle, we get an answer. Uh, so when we ask the questions, and to me, what's really important is to ask the kinds of questions where we really can recognize there's a pattern within ourselves, or there's a lack of having power, that powerlessness, those energy leaks or spaces or whatever you want to call it, where things are not whole within us. And so that's where the question comes in. And so through the question, when I'm working with somebody one on one or even in a group, it's through the question that the answer comes forth. And what's so powerful about the work that I do is, because I'm connecting to the records, I'm connecting to soul records of the individual, of the group. There's a lot of information there that we wouldn't necessarily know, that I wouldn't know about you or the person I'm reading for under normal circumstances, but it's coming through because of the question. So there's a lot of wisdom that comes through. Not only is it wisdom, it's very aligned to the person who's asking the question. And even more fascinating is that because so many of our questions, so many of my clients who come, their questions are about how can I be more of who I am? How can I develop that essence of living from a powerful place so that I'm not getting caught up into what other people are doing or what the world's doing, because I've got to focus on, doing my part without distraction. And so what flows through is the energy that helps the person to feel more whole, kind of healing some of, or releasing some of that energy or that illusion. Because from past lives as souls, we have made agreements that say in a past life, we had an experience where we were very powerful, and then people came and said, "You're not supposed to do that." And they were angry with us. So we said, "Oh, okay, I won't be powerful because this offends people," for example, right? And when we make those vows, those agreements, or somebody puts that on us, then we can take that energy into another life. So we could have hundreds of lifetimes or hundreds of experiences where we depress our power, where we give it away. Um, like even in society now, how does the patriarchy work? It works through the funneling of power into their belief system. So we feed that. So when I'm working with people, the idea is to dislodge those agreements, to release that kind of stuff. So the person then becomes more connected to the energy of their true power, their true nature, the energy that is inside of them waiting for this time that we're in, that allows us to release so much of this um, illusion and agreement and promises.
Yes, it's so powerful what you're saying, it goes so deep, right? It goes so deep in terms of healing and what we need, I think, on almost a planetary basis. So, and I know that you're a numerologist, that you, like I said, you incorporate a lot of information in ways different ways you can work with people. So what's something coming up where people might want to be able to have a taste of what you do?
So actually, coming up in a couple of weeks, so on the 27th, I believe, of September, I'm doing a master class about connecting to your desires, how to manifest those desires, energize that in your life, in your ability. I think a lot of the power that we seek comes from the idea of really knowing our own desire,
Mm.
because when we move away from the patriarchy, a lot of it has to do with not knowing our desires, not knowing what we want, right? Not knowing what we want, how to get it. So this class, which is deepening into your desire, is there are some aspects I'm going to teach, talk about, and give people an experience going into the record, so they actually get an experience of releasing some of this energy, as well as connecting to some of the natural inclination within themselves to learn how to be more powerful as a manifestor, more powerful in living from that place. So that's the master class that I'm offering.
Well, that's amazing. And so for people who want to learn more about it or register, would you put a link below when we publish this on Facebook so that people can know to do when is it again?
I think it's the 27th
The
of September.
27th of September.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday. Hold on, let me see. It's the 27th. That's right. It's 11 a.m. PST.
2
And
p.m. Eastern, and then anything in between for those of us in the States and Canada
right,
on this particular continent.
right. It's a
Yeah.
90-minute class. I don't have a page set up. It's a $69 investment. So if anyone wants to do it, they can just connect with me, Facebook or
Okay, great. That's perfect. They can direct message you right from this page, from the Energy Matters page, or if you're watching a recording through my email, then you can connect with Jen. We'll include her email there. So that's great. So anything else that you want to say about what you're thinking about energy these days? Because I know that you don't only work with groups and individuals, but you also think a lot about sort of patterns that you see from an astrological point of view or from a energetic shift point of view. Any last things that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, actually, I think what's really important to understand is that this time we're going through is part of a cycle, and that we are being separated from groupthink, kind of trying to do the right thing or what people tell us to do, and becoming more aware of our individuality, connecting to what you're talking about, the boundaries of who we are, the essence of who we are, and becoming much bolder in our willingness to explore that and not get pulled into wanting approval, doing things because we think we're supposed to, thinking someone else has the, secret answer. Absolutely, we should look for ways to help ourselves express our destiny, our desire, but not just do something because it feels like it's going to save us. Because right now we are in this very challenging and exciting time of learning to know ourselves so that we can speak from that place and contribute from that place, but also make choices from there.
And how do you think of that in terms of heart energy?
Well, I think the heart is such a powerful thing. The heart is the pump of desire. So it connects us to our essence. It helps us to eliminate what we do out of fear. If we come truly into the heart, right? We settle truly into the heart and we have a relationship of love, then from a place of love, when we're making choices, we're doing things that we really know we want, because so many times we deny ourselves. Like, it can be as simple as going to a restaurant and saying, oh, I really want the chicken salad, but I think I should have the vegetable salad, right? So it can be as small as that, right? But we really are denying our heart when we're making choices based on conditioning, and learning to activate the heart in a way that starts to infuse everything. It infuses our voice, it infuses the way we feel safe. Like all of the old ideas that we've been shown and taught and we've accepted have taken us away from feeling safe. So we've had to put all these conditions on. And that, of course, has taken us away from the heart because we're living in fear. We're responding to fear. So the heart, as the biggest element of love, and where our blood comes from, like, it influences our whole body, right? It's the most intelligent brain. It's like if our head dies, if our mind stops working, we can still live. But if our heart stops, we're dead. And so really understanding the power of love, not just because we want a certain outcome, but living in the vulnerability of love.
Mm. What a beautiful way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Jen, for joining us. And folks, we'll be putting in the links below so that you can make sure to contact Jen. I really appreciate you joining me this evening in Portugal, this morning here in California.
Thank you, Vicky.